Newton meter, right? So yeah, let's define first of all the Newton, right? So what is first of all Newton? Imagine Isaac Newton. Okay, he was sitting under a tree. The famous story which you have heard from your all of your school teachers. Okay, and here is Isaac Newton sitting under a tree with huge hairs. Okay, an apple falls, right? An apple falls. This is an apple over here. It falls in front of him. So yeah, what would you guys do if you just see a red golden apple falling in front of you? Yes, anyone? What would you do अगर आपके सामने एक बिल्कुल मतलब
सर मैं खाती हूँ उसको।
yeah, you have say कि wow, yeah, just got a free apple, right? Just let's eat it, right? But obviously wash it out and just grab a bite of it, right? So this particular person, this nerd, did what? Okay, and every student basically wished he would just eat the apple and just go away, right? So this is, I guess, a story, a point which basically hit his mind. Why? Why did the apple came down, right? Why did it came down? He hit a thought. Why did it came down, right? So he pondered over it. He thought about it, and he discovered basically force, weight, right? And he discovered that every body is attached and attracted towards the center of the earth using some magical thing, right? And he named it a force, right? Since he was the father of finding all the forces and classical physics, which you study in your physics books in your O level, A level courses. So he discovered all of those rules, Newton laws, ठीक है? आप पढ़ेंगी gravitational force law in your A levels, which basically tells you the force between two masses, right? Even let's imagine if you have a pencil in your hand and there is a force between that pencil and your body. ठीक है? Newton says कि every two masses which has masses, every two mass जिसकी mass है, ठीक है, will be attracting each other. But since the mass of pencil is pretty small as compared to you, it does not feel to be you can say visible, right? Now imagine sun and earth, right? Sun has a huge mass. You can fit million of earths onto inside the sun, right? So if you compare Earth and Sun mass, that then the force of gravity between them is pretty strong, right? So that is what Newton by came up with. So let's start to discuss what is Newton, right? So Newton is simply, if you know, it's the SI unit for force, right? We will study this in your chapter of forces. SI unit of force is Newton, since he was the pioneer of it, right? He found all of this particular principle represented by capital N, right? So you discover this in 1.5 K. What is the definition is based on a change of speed a force can produce in a body, right? So we'll discuss this in the fifth chapter, right? So weight is a force and therefore should be measured in newtons. As I said, in the last discussion, weight is a force, right? Imagine the apple over here, and the apple. Let's imagine this is the center of mass. ठीक है? Center of mass क्या होता है? किसी को पता है? What is center of mass of a body?
सर वो जो बॉडी की जो सेंटर पॉइंट होती है जहाँ पूरा मास है बैलेंस होता है।
Yeah, so it is a point of a body where the entire object's mass appears to it. ठीक है? So we cannot say कि mass is here everywhere at the same time, ना? Because it becomes a very you can say difficult problem to solve. So we for simplicity we assume कि हमारे पास body की एक mass basically comes to a single point that is called let's say O, right? And we can say कि weight भी इस point check कर रहा होगा towards the center of Earth, right? So for simplicity, we have made some assumptions. So just to simplify and make our thought processes clear and the working to be simple, right? Okay, so the weight of an object is measured by Newton meter, right? So we can just measure it spring balance also, or it is also called Newton meter. Okay, it's same, right? So it is also called Newton meter. Okay, so you can see what happens over here. Can anyone explain this experiment? Okay, how does it measures the force? Let's say if I want to measure the weight of an apple, right? That is how many newtons is the apple weighing, right? So how does the experiment is carried out? Can you explain this? How would I be able to get the mass, or sorry, the weight of this apple?
Sir, can I try?
Yeah, you can try. Sure.
Sir, I think when we are gonna place the apple or an object on the Newton meter,
Hmm.
it will show us how much the gravity is pulling that object. So the scale would show us the numbers.
Good. ठीक है. Good. So yeah, that is exactly correct. Imagine इसकी अगर हम mass को assume करें कि इसकी mass is equivalent to 1 kg, right? We will explore this in a while. Okay, what is the formula of relation between weight and mass, right? So this you can see over here. This is 0 Newton. Okay, this is 1 Newton. This is 7 Newton, right? So it shows a value reading still 10 Newton, right? Let's imagine it's the instrument which is used to measure till 1 kilogram of mass is volume. Okay, so this is the lever over here. You can say this is a supporting lever, right, which moves up and down depending upon the mass value. ठीक है. So let's imagine मैंने एप्पल को hang कर दिया on this supporting lever, and obviously it has some weight, right? It has some weight over here which is acting from the center of the mass vertically downwards, right? This is the weight over here. So what will it do? It will basically extend this spring lever, okay? And it would, let's imagine if it is 1 kg, this would stop approximately here, right? The lever value will be around this value, that is 9.8 newtons, right? So now can anyone explain why is 1 kg equivalent to 9.8 newtons? Can you create a relation between weight and mass? What is the formula of weight which links the mass?
सर वेट का फॉर्मूला है मास इनटू ग्रेविटेशनल फील्ड स्ट्रेंथ.
Yes. ठीक है. So ये हम देखेंगे in this particular slide. So is this clear? How do we measure the weight of an object? Raise your hand if it's clear. It is, हाँ, give me a thumbs up. हाँ, clear है. वर्त आपको clear नहीं है. Okay. I am clear. चले. Good. That's good. That's good. So now let's move towards some numerical part, right? So how do we compute things? ठीक है. Now we know okay, what is weight. What we know uh what is mass, right? So now let's try to create some relations, numerical relation between the weight and mass, right? Weight and gravity is का topic का नाम है. So obviously, when there is gravity and when there is mass, this produces some force, right? That is weight. So mass constant होता है. So we are not concerned about mass because mass of any object is constant. So depending upon gravity, the weight changes, right? That is why the topic is named as weight and gravity, right? The weight of the W, that is called W of an object, is the force of gravity. That is pretty important, right? This is point important. Force of gravity acting on it, which gives it an accelerating value G when it is falling freely near the Earth's surface, right? So what is happening over here? Imagine if you are on a top of a building, right? If you are on top of a building, this is your, let's say the windows, and you throw a ball, right? You throw a ball from here, a tennis ball, let's say. So since the ball is falling freely, right? कोई इस पे हम लोग force apply नहीं कर रहे. It's completely falling under gravity, right? Only the force that is acting on it is its weight, and it is falling at acceleration that is equal to gravity, right? ठीक है जी. So this is called free fall motion, ठीक है? And that can be used to find the equivalent weight of this particular body, right? So if you recall the Newton's second law, do you recall Newton's second law? What was Newton's second law? Anyone? We're going to arrive there at the formula in the next chapter, but just recall. आप O levels में पढ़ रहे होंगे अभी अपने classes Newton second law. Anyone? No one. So basically Newton's second law says कि force is equals to mass time acceleration, right? We will discuss this कि कैसे derive होता ये हम देखेंगे. So यहाँ पे force क्या है बॉल की? This is the ball over here. बॉल पे जो force लग रही है that is the weight, right? And mass of a ball is already it's same, okay? The value of acceleration at which it is falling is gravity, right? Because it is free falling, there is no external force that is acting on it. So we can derive a formula that is called weight equals to mass time gravitational field strength, right? So this is the equivalent you can say extend expanded formula, mass times gravity, right? Now is gravity constant for every planet or it changes?
Planet, it
It
changes, sir.
changes.
It changes, right? So gravity of moon is 1.6 मीटर per second square. अर्थ की हम लोग 9.8 लेते हैं, but approximately we'll use 10 in our course just to give simpler answers. ठीक है? So this is the weight.
सर,
अच्छा, yes,
मेरे स्कूल वालों ने तो कहा है कि वो 9.8 लेंगे।
9.8 देंगे. Are you sure? We have
जी,
used.
आईजीसीएस वो कह रहे थे 9.8
या
लेंगे।
सर आईजीसीएसई के पेपर में लिखा हुआ होता है 9.1 किलोग्राम की एक्सेलरेशन ऑफ फ्री फॉल इज 9.8.
Okay, so if you are IGCSE people, follow 9.81. If you are GC, follow 10, right? So I'm gonna use 10.8, but remember if you can use 10 तो भी सही होगा. ठीक है? आपके आंसर बहुत सेम आएंगे. ठीक है? डोंट वरी. मेक सेंस?
अब वैसे भी मसला नहीं, कैलकुलेटर तो अलाउड होगा ना हर पेपर
हाँ,
में।
so it's just a difference of 0.02. Yeah. Okay, so this is अच्छा. If I talk about the SI units, ठीक है, तो इसके SI units में बच्चे कंफ्यूज होते हैं. वो देख लेते हैं हम लोग क्या होते हैं हमारे पास. The SI units of weight. The SI units, ठीक है, तो there are two now of particular quantity that is called weight. अच्छा जी, so हमें पता है first of all the first assignment which you know कि weight is equals to, let me just use the terms, ठीक है, not the entire definition or names over here. We know कि weight equals to mg, right? And since it's a force, it is equivalent to force, ठीक है, और force of gravity है. So जैसे simply force का हमें assignment पता है, it's Newton. So we can just say कि weight का assignment is, one of the assignment is Newton, right? Newton n. The second representation is can be as follows, right? So weight is equals to mg. Let me solve the right hand side. ठीक है, मैं right hand side को expand कर रहा हूँ using their SI units. ठीक है, mass times gravity. ठीक है, gravity क्या है? Acceleration, right? Acceleration due to earth. The acceleration due to earth. Due to earth. Earth's gravity. Right? So mass का SI unit क्या होता है? It's kilogram. And what is the SI unit of acceleration? We have seen that in our last chapter, motion में. Acceleration is change in velocity upon time. So the SI unit of acceleration is meter per second squared. Does that make sense?
यस
Hello.
सर।
ठीक है, so it's going to be kilogram meter per second square. So we can also represent the SI unit of weight as kilogram meter per second square. ठीक है, समझ आया आप लोगों को कैसे आया?
जी सर।
ठीक है, so usually it will be Newton, but if they let's say somehow ask you is there any other representation of the weight SI unit, ठीक है, of Newton, so you can just use this formula, right? I hope it makes sense. Raise your hand. Give me a thumbs up. हम लोग समझ आ गया, रैंक को समझ आ गया. What about Varda and Mashal? Mashal clear है. Good. ठीक है. So now let's go back and see did we miss something. So yeah, usually we had the accurate value is basically it is 9.81 by the way. ठीक है, आप A levels में you will use 9.81 meter per second square, but in your O levels case जैसे कि we have 9.81. So if we have a mass of 1 kg, we have a weight of 9.8 जो हमने यहाँ पे देखा था, right? So if I now apply the formula, weight equals to mg, and if I take gravity as what, 9.8 meter per second square, so what will happen? It would be weight equals to, and if I given the mass is also 1 kilogram, okay, so it's 1 times 9.8. So therefore the apple weight is coming out to be 9.8 Newton theoretically. So experimentally you will see कि यहाँ पे इसका reading आ रही होगी यहाँ पे. ठीक. Okay, so yeah, so you can say कि it's near enough 10 Newton, right? So again they are saying कि if you have a mass of 2 kg, it would be 20 Newton. So they are simply telling you कि what is the relation between weight and mass, right? So weight equals to mass times gravity. If I try to find the relation between weight and mass, it's directly proportional, right? So weight is directly proportional to mass. Does that make sense? Because हमारा gravity constant है ना on Earth, that is approximately equals to 10 meter per second square. Okay, so if I plot the graph of this, if I have two quantities which are directly proportional, if you recall your basic mathematics class, so we have a graph of this, right? That says K weight is directly proportional to mass. Okay, if you just see this graph, if I increase the mass, the weight also increases proportionally. Does that make sense? How do we plot the graph of a direct proportional quantity? Okay, good. और मशालू clear है, रेहान clear है, हमजा and वर्दा are left. वर्दा clear है, हमजा clear है, नहीं समझ आया. Okay, good, good. Okay, so just giving you some mathematical tools to analyze. Okay, you should have all the skills, right? You should be able to use formulas to analyze your quantity. You should be able to use graphical methods to analyze the property, right? Anything which you want to analyze, right?